여러분 안녕하세요. 반갑습니다. Hi everyone. It is my great pleasure to share my Korean art and my ideas on Korean art. Today's my talk is Glimpse at Korean Art from National Treasures. My name is Seung-hae-sun. Currently, I am the director of Daejeon Museum of Art. As you know, Daejeon is located in the middle of Korea. It takes 1 hour from Seoul by train. And just let me introduce myself briefly. I am the museum director of contemporary art. I start my museum career from National Museum of Korea. Therefore, I think the best way to understand Korean beauty and Korean aesthetics and Korean ideas on culture is to explore national treasures. Today, my talk focus on 13 Korean national treasures. I chose national treasures from National Museum of Korea collection. You can see the object itself at the National Museum of Korea in Yongsan area, and also just my text from the website of National Museum of Korea. Today, I want to appreciate art object first and interpret what is the meaning from the text from the website, and then just read between the lines what is the idea of Korean people on Korean culture. I have a list of your name, so I can I don't call your name one by one, but I am very happy to meet you and like to just online. I can see your faces and here. And then I want to start from gold crown ornament of Three Kingdom period. The first one is gold crown ornament. It is Baekje dynasty, 6th century. It was excavated from King Munyeong's tomb in Gongju area. If you the ornament shows very soft and very smooth line. It means the Baekje people loves the kind of a smooth and soft and elegant atmosphere. And also, just the ornament to show some flower patterns in the middle. And then also you can see some images like birds. It means the birds is the symbol of the messenger from the heaven to earth. It is the messenger between the kind of the heaven, God, and the human beings. The kind of a symbol of the bird often were found in many various cultures. And also the Baekje people loves a kind of the symbol of natures like trees and flowers. So the king's and queen's crown has the patterns of the flowers in the bottom. And also the Baekje has a very close connection with China too. And this kind of the very soft and very elegant atmosphere was continued in Baekje period. So if you trip to go to Baekje area from the Seoul and then just the Gongju, Buyeon, it is the Chungcheong area, and the north part of Jeollado area, you can see very round and soft lines of the mountains. I am quite sure the kind of nature impression affect the people's emotion. It is the gold crown ornament. So if you see some Korean people of the West Coast, it means the old Baekje area, you can see very kind of relaxed and very slow-tempered people. The next one is gold crown. It is the Silla piece. It is the 5th century. It was excavated Hwangnam Chong tomb in Gyeongju area. I guess many of you trip to Gyeongju. Gyeongju is east and south. Gyeongju is one kingdom from 3 kingdom period. If you compare the first gold crown ornament and gold crown of Silla, it is a bit different taste. And this gold crown has a very strict, very kind of line. This design come from the symbols of tree, and so you can see the tree branch, and then the jade ornament was added, but it looks more strong. And it is Baekje loves very soft line, but Silla people loves has more a kind of straight forward line. It means there is some different taste. So if you meet anyone from the kind of Gyeongju, Gyeongsangdo area, east and the south people, and usually they look more stronger. And then their intonations of the language, intonations of the kind of words is more straightforward. So some people from the Baekje area was kind of surprised. Wow, the wording is very strong. But in some way, it is very easy to understand what they want to talk. And then there is one difference between the Baekje and Silla area. Baekje people loves the relationships between man and woman. Therefore, the tomb for king and queen is one side, and then just the king and queen buried together with one tomb. But Silla is very independent and separate. So Silla each one has their own tomb. So king has his own tomb, and queen had her own tomb. So if we just found one man and woman's tomb, it was quite separate and different side. It is something interesting point. And it is the gold crown from Silla in the 5th century. Also, the gold crown has combined with the gold belt. This is the same period, the same tomb. And please see the decoration and one by one. This one is we say carved jade. Carved jade looks like a kind of an animal's teeth or a kind of the first shape of the baby, and then it is the symbol of life. And you can see a kind of fish shape and decoration. It is a kind of symbol's food. Also, you can see, you can see some knife. It is the symbol of the strength. And then you can see a kind of long ornament on jade. It is a decoration. It is a small leaf. 3 leaves are here. It means 3 leaves, and this belt was a kind of set with a gold crown, the shape of the tree. Also, this belt shows a lot of 3 leaves. It means the tree has a very strong and important symbol in Silla period. Many scholars analyze and interpret what is the meaning of a tree in Silla dynasty. It is a symbol of the shaman. The tree is one of the symbol of the shamanism. Therefore, in the context of the shamanism, tree is the core symbol connect the heaven, the God, and the human beings. It means at the time in Silla period, the king was king. Many people understand king is the power of the politics, and also a kind of the core power of the religion too. It is almost double layered. And then the third Korean national treasure is a kind of small vessel. But please see, and here is the one man is riding on horse. It was excavated from, it was found and from the same area, Gyeongju. And it is a horse, and very short-legged horse. And the man is riding, and then he has a kind of he put on armor. So if you read the text, you can see the horse and short-legged horse. And then the master is wearing the cone-shaped hat. It means the hat, this shape of the hat is cone shape. And then, and also the cloth. The cloth is top knot and tied. This kind, there are many. This shape, it is this kind, this shape of hat and short-legged horse. And this cloth is the kind of clues. This clues shows this man traveled from very long kind of Central Asia and a kind of just this man traveled from all Siberia area and arrived in Silla area. It means Silla was Silla people imported, or Silla people were influenced by the culture from outside. Yes, this is one of the symbols to show that. And then after the Korean people, Three Kingdom period were influenced by the shamanism and some cultures from the Central Asia, and then Korean people accepted and the Buddhism. The culture was strong, really changed a lot. And this one is one of the very, very stunning and national treasure. If you go to National Museum of Korea, you can see this piece. The title, Pensive Bodhisattva. It means pensive means thinking. So from 7th century, early 7th century and 6th century, Korean people understand the Buddhism. And Korean people accept and regarded Buddhism as the kind of national belief, national religion. And why just the pensive means thinking, this Bodhisattva is thinking the future of the human beings. It means the people, Korean people, deeply think about the concept of time. What is the time? The past, the present, and just the future. It is really a kind of turning point of the beauty, turning point of aesthetics, and turning point of religions, turning point of thought, and through the Buddhism. And also, but this Bodhisattva shows very soft line, not such a kind of masculine. It is very soft. It is very elegant. It is not dominant feeling. It is more like just an accepting feeling. It means Korean people in the Three Kingdom period loves this kind of very soft and very elegant and very slow down rhythm. And you can see this kind of smiling. It is not a kind of very soft one. It is very nice to touch, human touch to Korean people. So if you say to your Korean friends, I like this pensive Bodhisattva, everybody just wow, just you like it, and then somehow just you can feel a kind of empathy with Korean people. And but after unified Silla period, the aesthetics, sense of feeling, sense of beauty was changed. And this one is two bodhisattva in unified Silla period and 8th century. In unified Silla period has a more just unified three kingdom, 고구려 and 백제 and Silla. They have a very strong governance. They start to organize a strong governance, unified, very different three kingdoms. They need a kind of philosophy. They need a politics. They need a religion to unify different people. So a unified Silla period is less soft. It tries to show more a kind of strong power to people. So it is actually it is from Gamonsaji site. This sculpture is not a big size, but they never kind of show only the soft impression. They try to show just we are the aesthetic of unified Silla. Try to show it. We have a kind of dominate. We want to unify. We want to kind of just rule this area. And then after three kingdom period, the new just a dynasty of start. It is Goryeo. And the highlight of Goryeo is 12th century. And in Goryeo period also, Goryeo people respect the Buddhism, but the Buddhism, the religion of Buddhism had less influence to people. People have, in Goryeo period, aristocrat class has had more opportunities to show their aesthetics, to show their taste. It is a kundika. Kundika is the vessel, and it was used at the rituals. You can see this kind of landscape designs on the top. And then it means Goryeo people start, appreciate, enjoy the landscape design. On the craft art, in the paintings, and on the porcelain. But unfortunately, Korea had a less survivor of the paintings. So we have less paintings. We have almost Korean people, we didn't have the survivor paintings of landscape painting, but we can see many landscape designs like this. So in 12th century, so if you go to the mountains, if you go to see the landscape, trees, mountains, and rivers, the people start a kind of principles of universe. But it is not dominant to people. It is more like the landscape is based on Song Dynasty Confucianism. Song Dynasty Confucianism has two principles or two aspects. The first one, control our inner mind, a kind of peaceful inner mind, a kind of mindfulness. The second one is in the Song Dynasty Neo-Confucianism, which Korean people loves, is to understand the principle of the universe, principle of the nature, principle of the kind of landscape too. It means to try to understand universe is connected to the efforts to understand Korean inner mind. Inner mind, therefore, to understand inner mind means to understand nature. So, the Korean people see this kind of landscape design. They quickly think, oh, just the nature is like my mind. my mind, my inner mind is connected to nature. And then, so this kind of landscape means our kind of the one symbols, one impression, one expression of our inner mind. And also, just the 12th century, I want to show two pieces of Goryeo celadon. It is in incense burner. This incense burner is, let's see, it is very, this incense burner has many decorations. You can see very cute rabbit on the bottom. And you can see a kind of leaves in the center. And also you can see some patterns on the top. And it is Goryeo celadon. Celadon means the color of the sky. But what is the difference between China and Korea? In the sense of color, the Goryeo color is very light, very soft, not too dark. Chinese celadon is very dark and heavy. Or it is too bright, too perfect in color. But just Korean, the sense of Goryeo celadon is just in the middle, not too heavy, not too light. It is just like the sense of color is very make people's mind is very relaxed and very not too pushed to somewhere. It is the aesthetics of Goryeo period. But and also this incense burner was appreciated by aristocrat class. Aristocrats in Goryeo period loves diversity in culture, so they don't produce the same design in many numbers. This is produced one, every different shape, every different design. So if you go to the museum of National Museum of Korea, if you go to the gallery of Goryeo celadon, you can find all different design. There is nothing same design in the gallery. It means aristocrat ordered and aristocrat class patronized and the Goryeo and the celadon and incense burners or decorative craft art. So there's such a variety in art. I wanted to show another. It is a kind of picture for water. It is dragon hair and fish-shaped tail, and the body looks like a turtle. It is the animal from the imagination. So Goryeo aristocrats loves a kind of the symbols and design of animals from, and then they mixed like a kind of some animals, some symbols from our imagination, not too realistic. It means Koryo's culture could connect to the kind of fantasy, the storytelling of the fantasy. It is the taste of Goryeo. But it start and end after Goryeo, Joseon Dynasty start. And Joseon Dynasty is quite close to present Korea. So if you meet any Korean people in Seoul after you arrive Korea, you can see many common things with the culture of Joseon. The first, Joseon's philosophy is not Buddhism. Joseon's philosophy is not shamanism. The philosophy of Joseon is Neo-Confucianism. It is very serious philosophy of politics too. So the Joseon kingdom was ruled by Confucianism, and also the elite class lived in following the principles of Confucianism. Also, the society was maintained by philosophy of Confucianism. Confucian. If you ask what is the Confucianism, what is the aesthetics of Confucianism, I can answer in several ways. The first one is Confucianism and Confucian philosophy think a kind of the social manners was so important to maintain the society, and also the relationship between the relationship in the family, in society, and then between the kind of the manners and relationships between the kings and then elite government kind of officials was so well managed and well maintained. So the culture is also show this kind of principles in art and culture. So this one is 의궤 in Korean. It is the record of royal performance. This one, I show this one is 의궤, the royal wedding ceremony of King Yeongjo and Queen Jeongsan. And this one illustrated all the royal performance, and here is very well depicted. It means Confucianism just impact every corner of the society. So if you understand Confucianism quite closely, you can understand the present Korean culture and Korean culture of the past 500 years. So you can see this one is the king and queen is put just to ride in kama, and then all government officials parade for the rituals. And then the second one, in Confucian culture, the elite class has a very important role in society. It means Korean people have a strong belief, strong trust, strong, very unfailable feeling in elite class. Elite class means at the time, and the people who learn Confucian philosophy and pass the examination of government officials, they get the position. And then through all his life, and then Confucian scholars try make great efforts to a kind of work and just work for the king. And then in his life, the Confucian scholars always try to control their inner mind. They never show their emotions directly. They always keep their very well controlled mind at home and at society. So this is a portrait of Seo-jik-soo, and let's interpret one by one. He put this kind of head. We call this head Sodongpa's head. Who is Sodongpa? It is Chinese scholar who of Song Dynasty. And then Sodongpa is one of the symbols of great Confucian scholars. So this kind of head connect, and there a kind of spiritual value is connected to Chinese Song Dynasty and Neo-Confucianism. And then this cloth is very white, no patterns, no decorations. It means just looks very humble, looks very not too decorative, not too much. Always keep this kind of white color very carefully. It means this kind of color shows the inner mind. My inner mind is very white. My inner mind is no decoration. My inner mind is always pure. It is not easy. It is not easy life. But for the past 500 years, Korean elite class tried to show this kind of very strong inner mind in daily life, both at home and at court, at work. So let's move to the next one. It is 18th century. It is quite different painting. It is the painting Mount Kumgang. Mount Kumgang is located in North Korea. And many people in 18th century, just the elite people start to think, we are different from China. We are not. We sometimes just we have to think about our own culture, our own land, our own country. It is some spiritual liberation happened in 18th century. It is not limited to Korea. 18th century, in many countries, many areas, and just to start something new change. So 18th century, for example, this the painter Jeongseon, he traveled to Mount Kumgang with his patron. And his patron was the government official in Seoul area. At the time, Mount Kumgang, Kumgangsan, is the symbol of the Buddhism. It is a kind of symbol of the heaven. So if we go to Kumgang Mountain, many people believe just we can go to a kind of heaven after our death. It is some mixture between Confucianism and Buddhism. And also the people try to think about the realism. What is our real land? So Jeongseon go to the Kumgang mountain and then see the mountains with his eyes and then paint. Wow, this is a lot of the mountains looks like rocks. Oh, this area has more a kind of soft trees. So he painted what he saw. It is a kind of revolution in Korean art and history. The Korean people start to think about what is our own culture, what is our own taste, different from other areas and other countries. Also, it is a kind of this kind of eyes, realistic attitude, realistic taste helps us understand ourselves better. And it is a kind of big change. So why many Korean people are very proud of our kind of painting of Jeongseon, our true view painting, because it is the first. Some people think it is the first start to find ourselves with our own eyes. It is the painting and painted by Jeongseon. And the next one, it is my kind of last slide. It is the painting. It is the painting. It's not the same century, 18th century. The painter's name is Kim Hong-do. Kim Hong-do is the royal painter. So he worked for the kings, but also just he paint many common people. And Kim Hong-do go outside, and then Kim Hong-do see the people. What is their play and what is their life? What is their joy? What is their fun? And then Kim Hong-do try and then see the people and paint it. So this is the kind of music, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people and play the each musical instrument. One boy is dancing. So when I see this one, I immediately think, wow, BTS and tradition is here. Because when Kim Hong-do go outside, there is a kind of dance is there, the music is there, and then Kim Hong-do painted like this one. So it is 18th century painting. So just if I summarize, and I just wanted to summarize the first one and then just review from the first and the last and quickly. This first one is the symbol of nature in Baekje period of 6th century. Just you can just remember and what is the kind of 10 pieces from to show in Korean aesthetics. The second one, it is the symbol of shamanism in Silla period, 5th century. It shows a kind of Shilla's shamanism, connect between heaven and the human beings through the trees, through the shamanism. And then this kind of shamanism was connected with various kind of jade and the fish and then tree leaves. And also the Shilla culture is not a kind of Shilla people imported some cultures from a kind nomad culture from Central Asia. The horse, the people's head, and shows the evidence. And in Korean aesthetics was quite changed after Korean people understand the Buddhism. The pensive bodhisattva shows there a kind of big revolution in culture, art and culture and aesthetics in 7th century. The sense of time, the aesthetics of time was changed. And the Buddhism made Korean people think about the past, present, and the future. It is a kind of big change in Korean culture. But unified Shilla period in 8th century, and they use Buddhism as a kind of philosophy of politics. Therefore, the aesthetics and a kind of sense of beauty of Shilla period is very try to show the power and not limited to elegance and softness. And Korean people, the culture, art and culture of Korea period reflect the taste of aristocrat class. So each design was totally different. And also they start to appreciate the landscape. And landscape is connect inner mind and universe. And then I just pick up 2 examples from Goryeo Celadon. Goryeo's the sense of color is very not too heavy, not too perfect, just in the middle. And all designs from just animals, and sometimes it was like a fantasy or like imaginations. But big change happened in Joseon period. Joseon period is quite different. The past unified Shilla period and then Goryeo dynasty. And the past 500 years of Joseon was a kind of dominated by Neo-Confucianism and Korean Seonglihak. So each relationships, each manners, each attitude was followed by Confucian philosophy and taste. And the scholars, elite class, tried to show their inner mind through the kind of some head and through the costumes, through the paintings. But in 18th century, some change happened. Korean people find and themselves try to find their own taste, own land, own culture, own art from 18th century. So the first one, Kumgang mountain painting shows that one. And also Kimongdo paintings shows this kind of taste. It is the end of which I wanted to show today national treasures. And then now, just if you ask any questions, and then just we can share our ideas. Any question is okay. And then if you have any questions in Korean culture, in Korean art, please just ask the question through the kind of chatting. And thank you so much. And the question from Brett. And the question is, contemporary art based on ornament are commercially currently available. If so, where can we find? Yes, and some artists make and design and based on our kind of long traditions. So I recommend there is the two sites. Yeah. The first one is you can go to travel by yourself to Gongju and Buyeo area if you want to find some ornament and design on the site. And also you can go to Gyeongju and then you can go to some small shops there. There is one way. And if you want to get more kind of in Seoul area, it is one. I leave the exact Korean name. It is one kind of promotion institute of Korean craft. From there, just some artists inspired and then just redesign and redesign the old traditional shape. And then the last one is very easiest way and go to National Museum of Korea. National Museum of Korea has a wonderful shop, and they promote some young artists to use the traditional motifs and symbols. You can see some earrings and you can see some necklace at the shop of National Museum of Korea. And thank you. The next question and from Florencia. Yeah, who is Florencia? And then were the ceramic and the ceremony style from the beginning and the end of Joseon was different? Wow, it is really good question. Yeah, it is very nice. And first, we can divide in Joseon period roughly 16th century, before 16th century and after 16th century. Before 16th century or before, and there are kind of very unique and porcelain is buncheong ware. Buncheong ware is a kind of ash color and very strong stroke with a brush. It was only buncheong ware was highly developed in 15th century. 15th century means Korean King Sejong invented Korean alphabet. At the time, I think Korean spirit was very liberal and tried to invent many things. The buncheong was developed quite intensively intensively in 15th century. But after 15th century, just in my impression, the orthodox of Confucianism had more power. So the white porcelain was made. Some small designs. It means the buncheong is gone, and such a liberal spirit is just fade out, and the more strong kind of concept of orthodox Confucianism had the power, and more white porcelain get the power. And then, yes, May. Thank you for May from Malaysia. As Korean contemporary artist who incorporate traditional motifs and symbols, his work, yes, Kim Hwang-gi. Recently, his work mainly influenced by others. Yeah, it is really good question. Thank you for May. Now, just Daejeon Museum of Art is the Museum of Contemporary Art. But Korea has one very interesting taste. Koreans just never regret the past culture, never miss the past culture. So it means Joseon Dynasty, the people in Joseon Dynasty never tried revival of Goryeo. Goryeo people never tried revival of a unified Silla. It means the contemporary Korean people, the contemporary Korean artists didn't revive the tradition of Joseon a lot. It means to focus on what is the contemporary, what is the right here and now. So many Korean contemporary artists didn't revive Joseon tradition. Some artists did, but not many. It means why Kim Hwang-gi and other Korean artists are were quite different from the traditions, or just they try to keep the distance from the past. So just some artists or just many artists loves to be and loves to express, loves to understand the outside Korean culture. However, I think many people just feel much better we understand our history. And if we understand our history, it shows something new possibilities. Yes, next question is, thank you, the Tilak and Nath. How much of the modern contemporary art resonate with that of Joseon area? Yes, some artists of Orthodox try to continue Korea and Joseon dynasty spirit. For example, ink painting. And some ink painting painters try to continue the tradition of Joseon. However, if we think, if you meet your Korean friend, you might feel Korean people are very serious in politics. Everybody have a strong interest in Korean politics. If you get the taxi driver wanted to say some comment on the contemporary Korean politics. Why? Because our attitude of Confucianism. The attitude of Confucianism means to have a strong interest in Korean politics. It means Korean artists, and some artists didn't follow the old techniques, old materials like ink, like a paper, but the attitude, the ideas, what is Korean society, what is the current Korea, I want to analyze it. I want to show it. It means connected with the same idea with Joseon dynasty. And then next is Anna. Thank you for Anna. What is the difference between the royal books of Joseon and royal records? Yes, it is really good question, Anna. And then royal books, royal records, a kind of royal books is a illustration of royal performance. And then royal records we call 조선 왕조실록. It means a kind of record of dialogue at court. If the king just to do the meetings and conference and dialogue, or just the royal record everything. So the kings had no opportunities to see before to see the content of the record. But the royal books of illustration performance, just the king checked everything. Just it is a kind of like performance rules. So it is checked together. Yes. Thank you for Claudia. What does the shamanism had a strong influence on daily life of Korean today? It is a really good question. Many scholars of Korean studies outside Korea, and they think shamanism still had a strong influence on daily life of Korea today. But in my generation, I don't think so. Yeah, because basically shamanism think and the people connect nature and kind of. Yes. However, do you know just many Korean people go to mountain every weekend? Do you know why? Every gentleman go to mountain. Yes, every weekend go to the mountain. They don't go to the river. They don't go to the sea. But the ladies want to go to the beach and then relax. But many gentlemen go to the mountains and go up, and then they feel very happy after mount climbing. I think this is one very obvious evidence still shamanism affects Korean people's life. Yes, and next question. Thank you, Pham Nu. Yes, about the Buddhism symbol. I want to ask about the Buddhism symbol. Why is it that in other countries Buddha is depicted as sitting down and smiling, but in Korea, Buddha is depicted as pensive and thinking? Yeah, it is. Do you know pensive Buddha's posture is very uniquely developed in Korea only and around just approximately 7th century. I explored the Buddhism's posture in China, in Southeast Asia, in India. There is really just a few Buddha and Bodhisattva just sitting on the chair and then just about the thinking. I saw some images from Dunhuang in China, but in Korea, in Japan. So I think this kind of thinking posture was very limited. It was popular in very limited area in very limited period, about in the 7th century. I think at the time some people some patron has a strong interest about the thinking. Might be we can imagine, and some patron was shocked by the concept of the thinking the past and the future, and then he or she ordered and patronized the kind of posture. So it is pensive Buddha's posture was founded in Korea, in Japan only in 6th and 7th century. It is very unique art. Thank you for Alice Hong. Does Confucianism play a role in contemporary art? I can say yes and no. And yes means some Korean artists, if any artists have a strong interest in society and the value of the nation, what is the role of the present, what is the role of art, that kind of attitude from Confucianism. But if any contemporary artist in Korea has a more interest in liberal mind and freedom of mind, it was quite different from Confucianism. It is more closely to connect Taoism. It is more freedom. It is different one. And next question is Sharon Tan. Thank you so much for a good question. And then Korea Museum's content brings up and very simple yet unique items and exhibitions. Is there any reason the form this culture and happened? Yes. It is. I think Sharon Tan is genius. Simple but yet unique is the core concept of Korean culture. Yes, we are very simple but unique. Yeah. So if you go to the museum and wow, it is very simple, but something is unique. Yeah, that is Korea. Yeah, it means the simple means very unified. Many people think the very similar thinking and taste, but it is something different in different countries. Yes, Christina in Maine. Could you elaborate more on how mountain climbing might be related to shamanism? Yes. In what other aspect had Korean culture has influenced by shamanism or Buddhism? Yes, it is just my idea. And if we study shamanism in Central Asia, you can see shaman go to the mountain and then do the ritual to purify everything. It means go to the mountain means it's not only just a kind of exercise. It is more like a purify our inner mind. So if you ask you can ask your Korean friend, or just you can experience mount climbing together. And then And then just if you experience mount climbing together with your Korean friend, and then just after mount climbing, just to see yourself what happened in your inner mind, or just ask your friends, wow, after mount climbing, what do you feel? And then many Korean people think, oh, I feel much better, and my stress is gone. And then just somehow my mind is very kind of feel much better. It means the same, same result and same experience of shaman indeed in the mountains. In this sense, I think it is still the kind of habit, the kind of custom, the kind of custom of influenced by shamanism was still remained in Korea. But the Buddhism, yes. Yeah, after shaman, after mount climbing, eating is so important, like May mentioned. Yes, because after mountain is a kind of very purified, something special area. After mount climbing, we go back to our daily life. So eating first, and then and the Buddhism. Yes, I think in Korea has the Buddhism is, so if you go to the Buddhist temple in Korea, you have to go to the mountain. Yes, in outside Korea, most of major temples are located in the mountain. It is the same sense of shamanism. If we go to the mountain and arrive something shrine, we are purified by the something and power of the God, power of the Buddha. It is the process. But in the Buddhism, the Goryeo dynasty has a very strong the Buddhism is a national belief, the rule of politics. But these days, Buddhism is more like personalized one. And if you check in the Buddhist temples, you can find many Buddhist temples not in the city. It is more like a mountainside. It means the people's daily life connected with it might be connected with the Buddhism. Yes. I think your questions are more interesting than my lecture. And then just, yes. And then, yes. And the percentage of Buddhism, yes, it is now, just as far as I understand, we can check exact numbers of the kind of how many percent of Buddhist people, how many percent of Christian, and how many percent in non-religion. You can go to the kind of Ministry of Culture and you can check it. And then just the answer is about 15%. But just before I close my lecture, and just I worked as the Director of Cultural Cooperation at Ministry of Culture, Ministry of Diplomatics. Foreign affairs. And then when I just took the unique Korean thing is, Korea never fight each other for the religion. Always just Christian, Buddhist, shaman, and the people who love shamanism and the people who don't have any special religion, we live. Korean people never fight with the reason of the religion. Just we live together. It means it is very unique. When I go to Middle East, when I go to Europe, when I go to other countries, religion is more powerful than the politics. But Korean peoples, I think, and the politics is first and religion is the second. It is one of the very unique way of thinking in Korea. And then now, I am very happy today to share my idea about the Korean beauty and aesthetics. You can go to National Museum of Korea and see the object national treasures by yourself. And then just analyze the text, what the Korean people wrote about the piece. And then if you have contemporary Korean art, please visit my museum and Daejeon Museum of Art. You can trip to Daejeon. And then now I show artificial intelligence and art. Artificial intelligence needs the data. When I just collected data, I understand. Now I understand. I realized really the data from the traditions, the past is so important as well as the present one. So I am very happy. And see you today. We met through online. And then I hope we can meet offline too. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.